I kind of have fallen off the horse in more ways than one here recently, but today we're bringing back my podcast.
A podcast, you say?
Oh yeah. Were you interviewing your friends?
Yeah, well, it's gonna be a little bit different this time.
Tell me more.
Let me tell you here in a second, but the other horse that I fell off was I haven't been getting into the gym as much lately, and I'm feeling it.
So I guess today we're getting back on two horses, the gym and podcasting. Garage monologues. I have been doing them I did 3 seasons, which is kind of crazy. And we've talked about bringing it back. We put it on hiatus because there's just been so much going on. But it's such a fun vehicle to talk. And this season's going to be very different because we're only going to follow 4 friends, maybe 3 friends. We'll find out. But in the past, I sat down with different friends of mine who were very interested in living different lives, whether they're from Paris or I knew them through my time in West Africa or I knew them from who knows what. But it was really, really fun. And then I would alternate between those with monologues, thus garage monologues. And I'll tell you a little bit more of the history of that in a second. But first, we need to get some snacks for my first guest, and Molly, who's around here somewhere. Because I've decided that one of the things I want to do through this entire season is try to give local shout outs along the way. They're not paying me for this. We'll have sponsors who do pay, but I also want to then turn around and support local by getting, local snacks for my guests. So, this might be the last episode we ever film in the 16th, so I definitely have to drop into Bel End. All right, snacks acquired. This entire thing is going to be a little bit more complicated than it used to be as well, for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that, but first we gotta get back and set up before our first guest arrives.
The message was so long, and then I realized it was from a prison.
Oh, yeah.
And the title said, "No way, Joker is a comedian."
So each of my guests is going through a big life transition or a big change, one direction or another. A lot of it career, but one of them I'm pretty sure is a midlife crisis. Tamer, who you just saw, is a stand-up comedian who moved to France, doesn't speak French, is learning French, specifically so he can do a full stand-up show in French. He's been learning it, so he does speak French now. He's been learning it for a minute. You can follow him on his French account now as well as he develops that. Paul, another comedian, is running every major marathon from when he turns 40 this year, so we're going to be talking about what that looks like. And then my friend Jane got accepted to Station F, France's most famous tech incubator, as a 50-year-old woman to create a femtech AI startup, which is geared towards women's education in entrepreneurialism, which is a word that feels more difficult to say than it should. And we're going to be following all of them over the course of this season to see how these things turn out.
We're not going to be filming this season exclusively in my apartment. In fact, we're not going to film in my apartment again. At least that's the idea. For me, the transition is this. Hopefully, leaving my apartment behind for good and we're finding a place where I don't have to carry this massive bag. 2 massive bags at the same time. Everywhere just to record a podcast. Waited for 10 minutes and the metro is just too full to carry all this stuff and the dog this morning with perturbance on the metro, whatever's keeping them from operating properly. So we're gonna have to catch a car. We're gonna make it on time. The joys of commuting to make podcasts. Merci. And I found that Bolt is faster and cheaper than Uber. I prefer it. I wouldn't describe this as the safest of setups, but we're just making do with what we got. Mic stands would be a nice thing to have. And nobody walk through here, please. Ends up being quite a lot. This is a really cool space, though. I better lock this down. I would love to use more lights and stuff, but we'll kind of slowly build up over time. I think that's the thing is so much of this experience right now is about figuring things out in a new way. We're going from the simplicity of filming in my room, which is always the same thing with one camera, to filming with multiple cameras in a bigger space with more people. Because the other thing is, in my room, there's no space for somebody to sit behind the cameras and make sure that they're still running. There's just Molly was sitting on the couch. I wish I'd gotten a shot of it. She was sitting on the couch in the corner taking notes, but was unable to actually see the cameras. And we want to make sure we're leveled up and doing the best job possible to make the best show possible.
And so yeah, we're just kind of figuring it out one step at a time. So this season is, hopefully you see a progression of quality and like just the standards raising as the backgrounds keep changing and we keep doing different stuff and experimenting with different things. And I'm really hoping that none of those experiments end up being detrimental to the experience as a listener overall. But they should all be good. These guys should be here any minute now. And they're dog friendly. Oh, Cooper. Hola.
Yeah, in the house.
Look at this.
The current setup. Please don't trip on any cables. Hi.
Wait, oh, we were on the other side.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, we were on the other side last time. The thing is, I went through a period where I like got confused about saying like going home because I don't say that about going to the States anymore. And thanks to Back Market for having us again. It's gonna be really fun.
Something different as we bring back the Garage Monologues in the format is that I'm not going to be doing them alone anymore. And in fact, we're going to be doing some group sessions, which we just filmed this morning, which was really fun. It's very new to the format, but like, because we're following these 3 different guests over the course of the whole year, or at least the rest of this year, I thought it'd be really fun just to bring them all together, see if I can make them all friends, but also continue the conversations in person. Joe, have a good time? Went really well. It was fun. But I have therapy now. And then I have to go record a 4th podcast episode afterwards. And it's a little bit hot for puppy paws out here in the wild today. So we're about to interview Jane. We were hoping to interview her. It's a little out of order because we had to reschedule a couple of times. This first round of 4 podcast episodes getting filmed so we can start releasing by the end of the month, probably end of July, beginning of August. So if you haven't followed Garage Monologues yet on whatever podcasting platform, you didn't even know I had a podcast possibly, go check those out. We also created, Instagram and TikTok accounts so you can catch the clips as we go. But we're gonna get this interview bagged and then I'm about to make my life a lot easier because I've been shooting on this ridiculous getup of like my old main camera, my old phone, and this iPhone that I'm filming on right now. But it's obviously 3 different cameras, makes for 3 different, very different looks. And if I'm filming on this camera while also vlogging on it, I'm running out of space pretty quickly. I go through a lot of storage. But there's a fun solution that Back Market has provided for us that I just found out was delivered last week. Did you know there was going to be an unboxing at the end of this episode? Oh yeah, we're about to level things up a bit. But first, let's film this interview. Also, thanks to today's patron producer, Jason Saphara. What we used to do with my podcast in the past was release every episode 6 months early just for patrons. But because we're following all these stories in real time, and there are other stories that we haven't even told you about yet that are also going to be on a bit of a delay naturally, instead of trying to juggle all of that and figure it out, we're going to release them more or less in real time, but we are going to release bonus episodes 6 months early for patrons. We're going to post the episodes early for patrons, but not by 6 months, like a few days, kind of like how I do with my vlog. However, we will have bonus episodes, one-offs like how to do your finances in France or relationships in France or a variety of other things. Those we're going to release closer to that 6 month early mark for patrons, and then you can spoil it for the rest of us. Actually, I thought that this would be happening way earlier in the week because it turns out they had the wrong phone number for me. And I never got the notifications that this had been delivered. It's been sitting around the corner for a week, which means we could have been recording with this new setup pretty much the entire time. There's only one episode that would have been on my old setup, and then we could have had the new setup from the beginning of this week. My podcast has been on hiatus for a while, and the way that I used to film it was here in my room with one camera, and then just let it roll. It was just a very simple, straightforward, sit down, talk with a friend, or sit down and talk directly to the camera with you in like an actual monologue format. And that was it. It was just trying to keep people up to date. How do I open this? This tape is intense. It was a nice way to do it, but that's just not the way podcasts are done anymore, really. So we're just leveling up the effort a little bit. But in leveling up the effort, you start to realize you have a little bit of a lack in the necessary equipment and, support.
Because part of the reason that I kept it so simple was because I just have a lot on my plate, and the idea of editing a podcast and trying to put it out in multiple formats, etc., was simply too much at the time. But as we know, over the last couple of years, I have been working on building out my team, and thankfully have included some larger players in that, like Back Market, who was kind enough to supply me with some new iPhones. And this is how they package it. I was really curious how they would package them, because basically Back Market is a refurbishing marketplace that maintains a really high standard of quality. When you order from them, it comes in a packaging. Like, I got a monitor from them that was very well packaged and delivered like in a very secure setup, so it arrived in good shape. But I wondered how they would do that with an iPhone, because they don't have the original box for the iPhone. How do they make it feel like a really nice unboxing experience? And it turns out they do that by building their own like box that I'm guessing is made from recycled materials, because they are kind of hardcore about stuff like that. That is awesome. That it's just like this really firm but soft foam in a box that's made specifically to hold an iPhone. Let's keep opening these. And they all came with a little SIM card pokies too. That's nice. They haven't even officially sponsored the podcast or a vlog or anything yet. Like, they just sent these to me. What? That's really satisfying. There's just something that I really like about the mission of the business, and I'm very excited for them to come on board. And they're supporting the launch of the podcast. I think they're going to be around for a variety of other things. But you might be asking, why do I have a bunch of iPhones for a podcast? And the reason is because everything has to be video now. And these phones, the cameras on them, are pretty dang good. We don't need to get too nerdy about it, but effectively, everything has to be video these days. And cameras are expensive, and having 3 or more cameras that are all the same is very expensive, because you do want cameras to be the same. You'll probably notice in the first 4 episodes a difference in each shot for the different guests, which is fine, but like not ideal. Also, they're compact, they're easy to carry around. If you do have to travel, it's easy to throw 3 of these in a case and get them to where they're going. They'll all sync up much more easily. Final Cut supposedly has some options for that now. So we're going to be experimenting with how we do all of that. And then all of them can upload their footage directly to the drive that we share with our editors. So it makes syncing everything really easy. Just in like 30 seconds, you get them all going and it's done. So in theory, this is going to be a really great solution to have some nice cameras on hand. Not the best cameras, not like cinema cameras, but good enough cameras for what we're looking to accomplish in a very robust format. And especially for some things that I have in mind for the future, throwing these guys in some places that might be very difficult to get traditional cameras. It's also really nice because they're refurbished, so they're as close to new as possible. Like, they look and feel like they're basically straight out of a brand new box, which is really great. They should last for years easily. And we've extended their life. Like, we're not buying a bunch of brand new stuff. We're able to use used stuff to produce what we're producing, and hopefully, reduce our impact on just trying to do little things, right? One step at a time. So that's what this is all about. If you haven't followed Garage Monologues yet, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or you want to follow us on socials, you want to follow wherever, I'll put all those links below. Be sure to check that out. The episodes will start dropping either at the very end of July or the beginning of August. I'm not actually sure which one it is now, but it'll be very soon. And thanks to Back Market for sending these and for letting us use their studio this week. It was really, really fun. Check them out if you're looking to get a new phone. They do operate in the States, in the UK, and here in France. They're the #1 phone seller in France globally, both used and new, which is pretty insane. So thanks to them. It's very generous of them. There's a lot going on between the podcast, the book launch, the everything, tons going on. I'll tell you more about it soon. Thank you for watching. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Yeah.